The Last Hope. Learn English with a short story. Setting: in the year 2065, on a distant planet called Zephyr, humans have established a colony after Earth was destroyed by a catastrophic event. The colony is struggling to survive due to the harsh living conditions and limited resources. Protagonist: Dr. Ana Rodriguez, a 32-year-old astrophysicist who leads the colony's efforts to find a new planet to call home. She is driven, determined, and willing to take risks to save humanity. Antagonist: Captain Marcus Drake, a former military commander who leads a group of rebels who believe that the colony should focus on improving life on Zephyr rather than searching for a new planet. He is ruthless, manipulative, and willing to do whatever it takes to maintain power. Conflict: as the colony's resources dwindle and tensions rise, the stakes become higher, and Dr. Rodriguez must navigate political intrigue, sabotage, and personal relationships to achieve her goal. Theme: the central theme of the story is humanity's resilience in the face of adversity. Despite the destruction of Earth and the challenges of life on Zephyr, Dr. Rodriguez and her colleagues refuse to give up on their mission to find a new home for humanity. And now, The Last Hope, a short story to improve your English skills. English level B2. B2 vocabulary is written in bold letters and underlined. The Last Hope. Dr. Ana Rodriguez stared at the data on her screen, heart racing. She had found evidence of a habitable planet in a nearby solar system. This was humanity's last hope, a chance to escape the harsh conditions of Zephyr and build a new home among the stars. But not everyone shared her enthusiasm. Captain Marcus Drake, a former military commander who led a group of rebels, had been vocally opposed to the mission from the beginning. He argued that the colony should focus on improving life on Zephyr rather than risking everything on a dangerous journey through space. Dr. Rodriguez knew she had to convince the undecided members of the colony to support her vision. She spent long hours preparing her arguments, poring over scientific data, and rehearsing her speeches. When the time came to present her findings, she stood before the crowd with confidence. "We have a duty to the future of humanity," she said, her voice ringing out across the crowded hall. "We cannot allow ourselves to be held back by fear or doubt. We must take this chance and reach for the stars." Her words were met with cheers and applause, but she knew the battle was far from over. Captain Drake and his followers continued to sow seeds of dissent, working tirelessly to undermine her mission. Despite the challenges, Dr. Rodriguez and her team pushed on. The journey through space was difficult, with technical malfunctions and unexpected hazards threatening their progress. But they persevered, driven by a shared determination to succeed. Finally, they arrived at their destination, a lush, green planet with a perfect balance of atmosphere and temperature. It was everything they had hoped for, and more. But as they prepared to make the planet their new home, the tension between Dr. Rodriguez and Captain Drake came to a head. A critical decision had to be made, one that would determine the fate of the entire colony. Dr. Rodriguez stood firm, arguing passionately for her vision of a new home among the stars. In the end, her words won out, and the colony took its first tentative steps on the surface of their new world. As she looked out over the horizon, Dr. Rodriguez knew that the journey had been worth it. Humanity had found a new home, a new hope, and a chance to build a brighter future. The end. Okay, that's the end of the short story. In a moment I will talk about the B2 vocabulary used in that story. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor, myself. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe, like the video, share the video. You can also follow me on Spotify if you're listening to this as a podcast. On YouTube, there might be a super thanks button directly on the page, which means you can make a donation. That would obviously be really appreciated. You can also make one-time donations on buymeacoffee.com or co-fi.com. Links are in the description. If you really enjoyed the story, you can actually purchase the PDF ebook on buymeacoffee.com or co-fi.com as well. And that's something I'd really recommend if you want to work on your English speaking skills. You can read the story out aloud and really improve your English speaking skills that way. Now, I'm also on Patreon if you want to do monthly donations. All the links are in the description. Let's now talk about the B2 vocabulary used in this short story. The first word I want to talk about is habitable. Habitable means suitable or good enough to live in. The next word is solar system. A solar system is a star and all the planets and the other objects that orbit around it. Here's an example of those two words in a sentence. She had found evidence of a habitable planet in a nearby solar system. The next word is enthusiasm. A great word. This might be quite hard to pronounce if you're not a native English speaker because of the TH. You have to put your tongue in between your teeth for that one. Enthusiasm. Enthusiasm means intense and eager enjoyment, interest, or approval. Here's an example. But not everyone shared her enthusiasm. Next word I want to talk about is rebel or rebels, plural. Rebel or rebels are a group of people who oppose or fight against a government or other authority. The next word I want to talk about is vocally. Vocally means in a way that is expressed in words, especially spoken words. And it's important to pronounce the V at the beginning very soft, vocally, not focally, as some people might do if English is not your first language, but quite soft, so vocally. The next word is mission. A mission is an important task or job that someone has been given to do. So here's an example with those words in a sentence. Captain Marcus Drake, a former military commander who led a group of rebels, had been vocally opposed to the mission from the beginning. Undecided. Undecided means not able to make a decision. Here's an example. Dr. Rodriguez knew she had to convince the undecided members of the colony to support her vision. The next words are pouring over. Now, in the specific case that I mentioned in the story, pouring over means examining something very carefully, usually for a long time. So, for example, in the story, it says she spent long hours preparing her arguments, poring over scientific data, and rehearsing her speeches. The next word is rehearsing. Rehearsing means practicing something, especially a speech or performance in preparation for a public presentation. And again, the sentence is, she spent long hours preparing her arguments, poring over scientific data, and rehearsing her speeches. Now, it's probably also worth mentioning, it will say this in the title, but this is obviously British English. I'm speaking British English. I was born and raised in Germany until I was 18, and then I moved to England. So I am very influenced by British English. Now, the reason I mention this is there are certain words that I pronounce in a very British way. For example, the word data. Americans might pronounce this word differently. They might say data, for example, but that's obviously the British English way. Okay, next up is the phrase, sow seeds of dissent. This is a great phrase in my opinion, and it means to encourage people to disagree or oppose something. Basically the internet in a nutshell. For example, the sentence in the story was, Captain Drake and his followers continue to sow seeds of dissent. The next word I want to talk about is progress. Progress means the process of getting better or achieving more. And the next word is persevered or persevere in the normal form without ed. Persevering means to continue to do something despite difficulties or opposition. Here's an example sentence with those two words. The journey through space was difficult, with technical malfunctions and unexpected hazards threatening their progress, but they persevered. The next word is destination. A destination is the place where someone is going or where something is being sent. For example, finally, they arrived at their destination. Next word is lush. Lush means growing thickly and strongly in a way that is attractive, very green and healthy looking. Next word is atmosphere. Atmosphere is the mixture of gases that surround the Earth and or another planet. Next up is temperature. Temperature is a measure of how hot or cold something is. You're probably familiar with the word temperature and maybe even atmosphere. I think many people have heard that. It's the same in many other languages, for example, German. Anyways, here's an example sentence for you. A lush green planet with a perfect balance of atmosphere and temperature. The next phrase I want to talk about is came to a head. Coming to a head. When something is coming to a head, something is reaching a crisis, or someone or a group is reaching a crisis. So in the story it says the tension between Dr. Rodriguez and Captain Drake came to a head. The next word is determine. Determine means to cause something to occur in a particular way or to have a particular nature. Here's an example. A critical decision had to be made, one that would determine the fate of the entire colony. The next word is tentative. Tentative means not certain or fixed, done without confidence or certainty. So for example, here's the sentence that I used in the short story. In the end, her words won out and the colony took its first tentative steps on the surface of their new world. So they just arrived at their new world. Obviously, they are very insecure, uncertain about things. And so they took very tentative, very careful, very uncertain steps. And the next word is horizon. Horizon is, of course, the line at which the sky and the earth appear to meet, but it can also mean the limit of a person's knowledge, experience, or interest. In this case, of course, in the story, the sentence goes, as she looked out over the horizon, Dr. Rodriguez knew that the journey had been worth it. And so in this case, horizon obviously means the line at which the sky and the earth appear to meet. And that's the B2 vocabulary used in this short story. Now, if anything is not clear, if you have any questions, please write a comment and I will help you out that way. I'll do my best to help you improve your English. Again, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, follow me on YouTube and Spotify. I'm also on other social media. You can also support me by making a donation, as mentioned previously, on Buy Me a Coffee, co-fi.com, or Patreon for monthly donations. And of course, you can also purchase this PDF ebook, the short story, The Last Hope. You can read it out loud to yourself and improve your English skills that way. Now, if this story does well, I'll make more videos, I'll make more short stories, and I'm also planning to do live streams, so come back to my channel if you want to hear a live reading, and if you have some questions, you can ask me live on YouTube. And that's it for today. I will see you in the next video podcast.